Bell knew little about monsters beyond the stories his grandfather had told him. In most of those stories, monsters were described as creatures of incredible strength driven solely by destruction. But the monster before him was different. It was not just brute strength. Bell could tell that the creature was thinking as it fought, though it was clear that its intelligence was no match for that of a human. At that moment, Bell remembered an important piece of advice his grandfather had given him. Don't rely entirely on your best ability. You are fast, but if you rely on that alone, what will you do when someone takes that advantage away from you? You will surely be dead. That reminder was crucial. Bell had spent the last year honing his skills with weapons, learning to use his enemy's strength against them. Even with his limited physical strength, he could compensate with technique and agility, traits he had developed through arduous training. At that moment, he was still just a child, but he was growing quickly. Meanwhile, in the forest, Alfia was conflicted. At first, the emotional impact of saying goodbye to Bell left her shaken. She never imagined that she would become so attached to that child. However, she soon regained her composure, picked up the equipment that Bell had dropped, and followed his trail, knowing exactly where he would be. That fool must have gone to the mountain. I'd better go now, she thought. Upon reaching the cave entrance, Alfia heard the sounds of a great battle and immediately ran to check if Bell was okay. When she entered the cave, she was greeted by a surprising sight. The monster was visibly stronger, having devoured countless other monsters in the surrounding area, becoming an irregular. But what impressed Alfia the most was seeing Bell fighting. Not only was he resisting his opponent's drastic transformation, but he was also fighting on equal terms, like a seasoned adventurer. In just 1 year, the boy she had known had transformed into a true adventurer. She was worried, but also incredibly proud. Bell, who had abandoned his defensive posture, was now fighting aggressively, engaging in sword combat. However, he tensed when he realized that the monster was holding a rudimentary weapon, made of a sharp stone. There was no time to question how that was possible. Alfia, realizing Bell's disadvantage, threw him the sword she had given him. Bell ran towards the sword, which was stuck in the ground, and picked it up, starting a fierce battle. The monster, realizing that its advantage was diminishing, abandoned all strategy and launched itself like a wild beast, determined to devour its prey. Bell, aware of the monster's change in posture, decided to respond with a deadly attack. Alfia, watching with her heart in her throat, hesitated. She didn't know if she should interfere, but when she saw those red eyes, full of determination, the same eyes that everyone in her old faction had, she knew that Bell would be fine. She couldn't move. He'll be fine, she thought. Bell advanced at high speed, his footsteps echoing like thunder in the cave. The monster, a colossal, winged creature, reared up in response, its gigantic wings flapping loudly as the ground shook. With a ferocious roar, the creature unleashed a devastating attack with its claws, but Bell remained focused. He knew that the monster had an overwhelming advantage in size and strength, but his speed was still his greatest ally. Deftly dodging the brutal attacks, Bell seemed like a shadow, moving with lethal precision around his enemy. With a swift leap, Bell used the monster's own body as a platform, quickly climbing up onto it. The goblin leader, who was watching the scene, was perplexed by the young human's audacity. He could not understand how someone so small and seemingly fragile could react with such dexterity. Instinctively, the monster tried to throw him, but Bell was already prepared. With a quick strike, Bell stabbed his sword into the monster's arm, momentarily immobilizing it. Taking advantage of the opening, he pulled out the dagger that was kept at his waist and, with precision, pierced the creature's eye. The monster let out a roar of agony, staggering before collapsing to the ground. Without hesitation, Bell pulled the sword from the monster's arm and, in a final move, plunged it into the creature's heart, destroying its magic stone. The monster's body crumbled into dust, and Bell stood up, panting but victorious. His expression was serious and determined, as he looked at the place where the monster had fallen. The battle was won, but the weight of the fight still hung over his shoulders. Alfia, watching everything, felt a mix of fascination and sadness. How could someone without special talent come so far in such a short time? She knew that the monster's level was low, having been born outside the dungeon, but even so, something surprising had happened. Bell had become incredibly strong, even without a sword. She knew her time was coming. Bell approached Alfia and looked straight into her eyes. His aunt didn't understand what he was trying to say, but before anything else, Bell thanked her. "I've become much stronger. Please take me with you. I know I can help you with my strength. I want to be by your side and I promise I'll become even stronger. I want to be the last hero, as I promised." Alfia was surprised by the boy's words. Her eyes filled with tears again, and she gently hugged the boy tightly. "Bell, please forgive me if you ever find out the whole truth. I hope that, on that day, you'll be able to understand our motivations." Bell, hearing these words, couldn't understand anything, but suddenly, the boy's world went dark and he fell asleep. Alfia, with a precise blow, knocked the boy out and carried him back home, where everyone was waiting for them. Zeus asked Alfia and Zard if they really wanted to go through with the plan. Zard explained that even if they wanted to stay, they didn't have long to live. "I want to leave this world knowing that I was at least able to help the next generation of adventurers," Zard said. Picking Bell into Alfia's arms, Zard looked down at the sleeping boy. "I place all my faith in you and give you all my strength, Bell. Save this world," he whispered, knowing there was no time for words. They would be the springboard for the next generation of adventurers. Zard laid Bell on the couch, face down, and Zeus used a needle to poke a hole in his finger, directing his blood into the boy's back. He wasn't putting a spell on Bell, but using some of his vast power to seal the boy's memories, keeping everything he had learned hidden deep within his mind. "It's better that he doesn't know what you're going to do. Maybe he won't understand and it will be dangerous if they discover his connection to me," Zeus said. Without saying a word, Alfia and Zard took their things and left in silence, heading towards Evilus' hideout. Now, for Bell, his grandfather was his only and exclusive family. A few hours later, Bell woke up from his deep sleep. Grandpa, are you okay?" "I remember everything. I can remember, you fought those terrible goblins to save me, you are very strong, and one day I will be as strong as you. I promise that." Zeus, with tears in his eyes, replied, "I will see it happen. I will never take my eyes off you. I will see you become the strongest of all."